I'm usually the go-to person when my friends need help writing something. Recently, several of them asked me if I could help them write their letter of resignation. I noticed a couple things in common. First, all of them over-explained their reasons for why they were leaving. They all felt like they had to justify taking a new job. They kind of expressed different levels of regret and guilt about leaving. And I had to sort of sit them down and say, you know what? This is nobody's business. You can stay at your job, you can leave, you can do whatever you want. You get to make your own decisions. If this resonates with you, I want to wish you a congratulations on leaving a job that no longer serves you. The fact is that jobs are more than just the way that we pay our bills. There's an emotional component that we don't often talk about or address. Jobs will often define who we are. We call ourselves a doctor, a teacher, a nurse. I'm a writer, it's what I do. Jobs are how we take care of our loved ones. For me, it's how I take care of my family. They're complicated, they're hard, they're really stressful sometimes. We form bonds with our coworkers, right? We think of them as our work friends. And we also connect with the work that we do. We have emotions about it. We feel proud. We feel frustrated. We're happy when things go really well. We get excited. We celebrate when we launch something big. And if you work in a service job, that's even harder because you're not leaving just work. You're not leaving products. You're not leaving websites. You're actually leaving people when you decide to move on to another job. So I get it. Leaving a job is hard, but it's really important that when you do decide to leave, you handle it the right way. So regardless of whether you're leaving a job or you want to leave a job, you're planning to leave soon, it's just an idea in the back of your head, I want to talk to you today about the right way to leave a job. There are going to be two pieces of communication typically, like in an ideal world, most of the time. So this doesn't always happen, but if everybody at your job acts like an adult and you're going to do this professionally, here are the two pieces of communication that go into quitting. The first thing you're going to do is have a written letter. It sort of becomes this little statement that goes into your file that the company uses to say, okay, this person has officially informed us that they're leaving. The second piece of communication you're going to have is like a prepared statement to say to somebody, whether you decide to quit to your boss or to human resources, you need to be able to say something. So typically what you're going to want to do, if you haven't done this before or if you're not sure how to do it, you're going to set up a time to meet with somebody. You're going to tell them that you're leaving, and then you're going to hand them that letter as just a formality. So let's first talk about that spoken statement, because in some ways that could be the hardest. Now, I'm not going to tell you what you should say, but I'm going to give you a couple of tips. It's really important that you have a carefully written, rehearsed statement about why you're leaving. Don't deviate. Don't get emotional. I know this seems kind of hard. It's our human nature that we want to explain things. We want to over-explain. We want to make people feel good. We don't want to feel bad. Sometimes when you leave, you're actually leaving at a critical time in a project, or you may be a critical person, and it might be really difficult for them to replace you and to find somebody that has your skills and your knowledge and your expertise. Don't get emotional, though. Don't let them use guilt to try to convince you to stay. The fact is that you actually don't owe anybody the truth. You don't have to give the real reason why you're leaving in this prepared statement. You can make up anything. You can claim that it's been your dream to move 1,000 miles away. You can tell them that you got your dream job. You can just tell them you need a break from work. You have, for your mental health, you're going to just walk away for a while or find something else that you want to do. It doesn't really matter. The point is that you've thought about this in advance. You write out your reasons why that you're going to tell them, if any at all. You actually don't have to either. If you feel comfortable just walking in and saying, I'm not interested in telling you why, but I am leaving, here's my last day, you can do that too. But if you feel like you need to give a reason, if you feel like that conversation is going to be really difficult, write down what you want to say and then practice it a bunch of times. I think it's really important, though, that you are human and you have empathy, right? We're not robots. And that's where having key phrases and responses ready is going to really help you. So if you tell your boss, hey, I want to let you know that I'm leaving. I found another job. I'd like to move my career forward. And so I'm going to be leaving. My last day is in 2 weeks. And your boss gets really upset or frustrated. You get to say words like, I understand, or I hear you, but I'm leaving. But this is my last date. And you just have to keep repeating that. You can express, I get what you're saying to me, but this isn't going to change my mind. So that's the spoken part. It takes a little bit of practice. You might want to write a draft, then write your written letter, and then come back at the end and rewrite it. So now let's talk about how to write the perfect letter of resignation. There are 3 things that I want you to remember. You want to keep it short, you want to only include relevant details, and you want to show no emotion. Okay, I lied. 4 things. There are 4 things that I want you to remember. So keep it short, only include relevant details, no emotion, and number 4, never promise anything. And here's what I mean by that. Do not tell them you're going to stay longer than your 2 weeks. Do not promise to complete a project. Do not promise to train a new hire. Do not promise anything. You're just leaving. So let's talk about what's actually going to be in this letter. This is a business letter. If you're not familiar with how to write a business letter, you start by putting your own name and contact info on the top. You put the date that you are officially leaving. If you're not quitting today, don't put today's date. Put the date that you're leaving. And then put your manager or HR's names and the business contact information. You're going to write this as a simple letter. Dear manager name, or dear human resources name, or even just dear human resources. Then you're going to go into the what. This is like, what is this letter for? What's the purpose? Really simply, you're going to write words like, this letter is to inform you that I'm resigning from my role as blank, put in your job title, at blank, the company name. Please consider this my 2 weeks notice. Period. That's it. You want to keep it really short and really simple. That's the first part. You're telling them what this letter is. Don't take a long time to get into it. Don't talk about how you've thought about your career. And you don't have to be gentle or lead into the main point. Just start straight off with what the purpose of this letter is. The next important detail you're going to include is when. So that's going to be a very short sentence that says, my last day will be, and then fill in the blank. This is a really important sentence to get right because your benefits and your salary are going to end on that last day. Sometimes at a job, they're actually going to escort you out the day that you resign, in which case they are obligated to keep paying you through those 2 weeks because you didn't quit today, you quit in 2 weeks from now, and they can't take away that salary. So this letter is documentation. It's proof that your last day should officially be in 2 weeks. So we have the what, that you're resigning. You have the when, your last day. And then you get to make a statement of offering minimal support. I tell people to include this because it makes them feel better, but it's very important that you get the wording right. So the way that I like to phrase the sentence is, I am available to help transition the work during my final 2 weeks here, period. Now let's break this down. I am available. That means I will be sitting at my desk waiting for you to come to me. I do not have to play an active role here. You as the company need to tell me what I need to do. And I'm making myself available to you, but it's not my responsibility. The next phrase, to help transition the work. I'm not guaranteeing that I will transition the work. I'm saying that I'm going to help transition the work. So I will help to do some of it. I'm not making any commitments or promises. And then during my final 2 weeks here, that last phrase, that's telling you that I am only available for 2 more weeks and I am not available after that. So just to repeat that offer of minimal support is going to be, I am available to help transition the work during my final 2 weeks here. The next thing I tell people to write, only if they like the company, only if they want to make sure this bridge is not burned. It is totally up to you. You don't have to include this. But I tend to write a sentence of gratitude and appreciation. And that sentence is going to be really simple. Something like, thank you for the opportunity you provided. Thank you for your guidance and support. Or even something like, thank you for the free snacks. Whatever works for you. You want to make sure that you just say thank you for allowing me to work here. Do not go on and on and on for paragraphs. You do not have to put all of that into this document, because that's really what this is. This is a document, an official document of you quitting the job. It is not the place for you to heap on paragraphs of praise or emotional goodbyes. You can do all of that in person. The final thing you're going to include are next steps. If you have to return equipment, or if you need them to forward a paycheck, just write those details here. For example, I'll drop off my laptop with IT on the last day. Or please send my last paycheck too, and put your address in. And then sincerely, and sign your name. That's pretty much it. It's really straightforward and simple. And by writing a letter that's this simple, with no emotion in it, that's going to help you when you have to actually quit in person, be able to do it in a way that doesn't have this emotion either. Because you've practiced and practiced your statements, your reasons, and not your real reasons, the reasons you've chosen to tell them. There are going to be times when you can't quit to your boss, or you don't feel comfortable quitting to your manager, or you literally just have to send this in an email. And that's all okay. There's no right or wrong way to do this. You get to decide however is most comfortable for you. So a couple of last details that I want to remind you of. You want to make sure that you sign that letter. And I always print 2 copies so I can keep one for myself. Now, you do not need to tell anybody where you're going. You don't have to tell them what your next job is. If you love everybody you work with and they're your best friends and you've known them before and you know them after and you really want to tell them, you can, but you do not owe anybody that information. I'm also going to tell you, do not criticize the company. Not at the time when you quit, not in your exit interview if they decide to have one. Don't criticize anybody. Those things do not need to be said to the company itself or to employees. You can just go tell your therapist or go tell your friend over a beer, but keep it out of the workplace. Don't get overly emotional. Now, that's my advice to you. I'm going to tell you that it's hard. I have cried. I've cried at leaving jobs that I loved. It's not easy, but to the best of your ability, try to not get over emotional. And don't explain why you made your decision. The fact is, we're complex people. It's never one single thing that makes us make this decision. So you don't have to start getting into it with anybody. It's just the right choice for you at this time. That's all you have to say. It's just really important that you don't write any more words than necessary in this letter. And I'm going to tell you that if you are writing more than 1 page, you need to delete that and start over. It should absolutely be less than a page. So with that, I want to wish you a congratulations. This is a really big decision for you, your goals, your family, your friends, your life. And I hope that these steps help you leave any job on your own terms. Thanks so much for listening today. Thanks for listening to the Pro Writing Coach podcast. I hope today's episode helped you learn how to write and communicate a little bit better. To find more resources and writing tips about this topic, visit prowritingcoach.com or find us on Instagram at prowritingcoach. This episode was written by me and produced by Yair Brzozowski. I'm your host, Adina Rubin. Join us next week when we have a chat about how to have confidence when talking about money.